All right, so I wanted to make a live video, or at least try to make a live video. I don't know how this is going to be. The market opens in 6 minutes, but I wanted to show you what a wall of sellers look like. If you've seen my Learn Level 2 DVD, you understand this. But this stock, RPRX, I think is going to have a giant wall of sellers when it opens in about 6 minutes. It's already fading a few cents a share pre-market. This is the chart yesterday. You can see that it had a nice fade, and it was kind of right around the day's lows at 280-ish. I'm actually short here, you can see, at 286. So unrealized, I'm up $172. My other position is YOD. This is my long-term newsletter, and I'm in at 181, so I'm down a few cents a share, which I don't care about. But RPRX, I am focused on this short term. I am short 4,500 shares at 286. And I will be looking to cover into a morning panic because this is a classic supernova straight out of my penny stocking and penny stocking part 2 DVDs. This is a fluff company. It looks like, oh, it's amazing, right? It's up from 80 cents to $3. They should be doing amazing things. Listen, they're a speculative biotech. They need cash. They need to raise money. If you scroll out even further, they've gotten crushed. So this whole little rebound, it's not going to last, most likely. I'm not saying that I'm definitely right, but most likely we're going to have a nice little morning panic. And you can see here, it already faded. I actually should have started this video a few minutes ago. It was like hanging around 289. But the reason why I didn't cover for a loss, sometimes people ask me this when you're down, when I'm down, 2, 3, 4 cents a share, why don't I cover? Because usually I do. In this case, this stock is in the SSR, short sale restriction. So it's an uptick rule. So part of the reason when this was 288, the bid was 288 and the ask was 289, part of the reason why I didn't cover was because I expected this kind of wall of sellers building here on the ask. And we have 4 minutes until the market opens. So please stay with me. I want you to see the market open. Right now, pre-market is very illiquid. There's only volume of 24,000 shares. But the whole reason why I didn't cover for a small loss is because even though I was down a few cents a share, with the uptick rule in place with SSR, it's very difficult to get short again on this stock because you need an uptick in order to get short. So yesterday, those of you who are trading challenge students, we had a live webinar and I was shorting this right in here on this, little rebound. It had faded all day, but then it also had bounced roughly 10 cents a share. And when it kind of double topped here at 295, I went short. This was all live. I thought that I was short 5,000 shares, but because I was giving a live webinar, I actually only ended up shorting 1,000 shares. I thought that I had shorted a block of 3,000 and a block of 2,000, so 5,000 shares total. In reality, because I was switching back and forth between the webinar and trying to give an alert and trying to trade, I had shorted 3,000 shares and then covered 2,000 shares. So net, I was only short 1,000 shares. It doesn't really matter. It was only a few $100s. But then I got reshort into this little, I guess it rebounded about 6, 7 cents a share. The problem with that today is that I don't think there's going to be any rebound at all. And so if you want to get short this stock, you're going to have already been short because we had one little uptick today. But aside from that, it's all downticks. And you can see here the wall is building, at 280, and it's now 279. So let me just tell the chat room real quick. RPRX broke yesterday's lows. Congrats to all shorts. New shorts are likely going to have a tough time getting executed. The wall of sellers should be solid. My goal is to cover into a morning panic. 270s, low 270s, or maybe even 260s or 250s. We'll see how big the wall of sellers actually is when the market opens. So people are asking me like questions. I don't have time to answer questions with 1 minute to go before the market opens. Let me make sure my web software works. All right, so I can put in my order to cover my 4,500 shares. I took a very small position. Remember, I'm trading with a small account this year. My $12,000 account has now grown to 26,000 in a few months. The market just opened. And here we have this wall of sellers here, as I was talking about. We also have some buyers, so the wall isn't necessarily that big, but we'll see if it can eat through this. Oh, it's eating through it. So I think I just covered. Yep, I covered because I got a little bit of a dip. Hold on, let me send out the alert. This is how I do this. 2.74, nice morning panic, nothing huge, still big buyers, so I play it safe. Congrats to all shorts, nice $500 plus profit for me. So I might have just taken profits too quickly. But at the same time, I don't care because I got the wall of sellers and, it was quick. There was also a wall of buyers. If you notice, before I covered, there were, I don't know. You see, look at this. Now you have buyers, wall of buyers here. So I thought that the wall of sellers would actually be more. So I got a little bit there. Nothing huge. TRXC is another play that I'm watching. They got crushed. This is a good lesson, specifically why I don't like holding this stock overnight. After hours, they didn't get the FDA approval that they thought that they would, or they hinted that they would. Never believe these companies. Right, let me go back. Where was that stock? RPRX is coming back up. So part of the reason why I covered is because I did not get the giant wall of sellers that I thought. We did get a little bit of a wall of sellers, and it was fading nicely, but not as much as I wanted. A true wall of sellers would have like 30, 40, 50,000 shares on the ask. We didn't get that. And so when my goal, as I specifically stated, right before I did the trade, I said it broke yesterday's lows, which was around 280. Congrats to all shorts. But I said, my goal is to cover into a morning panic, low 270s or even 260s or 250s. The 250s and 260s were off the table when we did not get that big wall of sellers. There was, I think, when I covered at 274, I think there were like 12,000 shares to buy at 273 and 12,000 shares to sell at 274. So it wasn't a huge imbalance. That's not to say that this is not going to come down even more, but I wanted a big morning panic. We got some nice fading action. We got some good signs, but no big wall of sellers, so I played safe. Even now, if I had not covered, it's at 281, I'm still making 5 cents a share. That happens sometimes, okay? I'm kind of glad that I got this live. Obviously I wanted to show you the biggest, best trade possible, but it's also good to show you what happens when you can't get what you want. You have to learn to accept disappointment in stock trading. The good news is, again, even now, 280, I'd still be up 6 cents a share. Plenty of time to cover. But you have to learn sometimes to take those 6 cents a share, or I guess I took 12 cents a share. How much did I make? I made $549. So that's okay. $549 in a few minutes with an overnight trade, didn't waste a precious day trade. I think my small account is up like close to like 3,000 this week. So I'm really doing well. And now I'm at like 26,500, maybe even 27,000. I'll do the math in a little bit. But you go in with a thesis. My thesis was that it was going to crack, yesterday's lows. We got a little bit of a crack. Who knows? By day end, this could be at 250, and I'll have covered too early. But I go in with a very specific thesis. Morning panic. Did not get the morning panic, so I'm out. It could be 250 by the end of the day. It could be 3 by the end of the day. I don't know. All I know is I went in with a thesis. got a little bit of it, but didn't get as much as I wanted. So I reacted quickly. If you noticed, people are often very shocked at how quickly I execute or how quickly I, change my mind. And that's because I look at price action. That is how you have to be over time. When you study a ton and get used to these patterns and get used to it. See, now I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a squeeze. You still have like a wall of sellers here, but look how small it is, 200, 100 shares. I really wouldn't be surprised to see this go to the 280s. Hold on, let me tell my chat room that. RPRX, no big morning panic, no big wall of sellers. Disappointing, yes, but that's the stock market. Gotta react quickly and take what you can. I wouldn't be surprised to see a big short squeeze. Now, play safe. Yeah, it's hanging around here. Big short squeeze now. If can't push it down anymore. So yeah, I mean, I really think this is going to actually squeeze now because it broke yesterday's lows, but just barely. And now, like if it can't keep, dropping, shorts are going to be a little scared. And I'm quick, I'm very quick. I actually got probably the best exit possible on this. But that is what I want you to be. That's what all of my millionaire students become. And I know in the beginning it's confusing and it's overwhelming and you don't want to act quick and you want to give these stocks more time. But when you go in with a thesis and you don't get the price action that you want, you will learn to be quick and decisive. And that's how you lock in the profits. You trade like a sniper. This is what I talked about on my free webinar the other day. I'm sorry we had technical issues. I'll be posting links to the replay. We weren't going to have a replay of it, but half the people who wanted in couldn't even get in. So I'm sorry. But here we have, RPRX right now. If I'm, 7 minutes into the market open, if I wasn't decisive, I'd be up. I'd still be up. I'd still have money, which is kind of cool. But sometimes that it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes if you're not decisive and quick, you have a loss or you miss the opportunity entirely. I'd still be up like $100 right now. But I locked in the $500 and this was a good example of a disappointing trade. And here now we have a good example. We'll see if this thing can go green on the day. So this is red on the day, and you'll see in the chat room G to R and R to G a lot. So this is R to G, red to green on the day. So RPRX, R to G on the day. Be careful, shorts. So you always have to be careful of the momentum changing like that. And so that's why you really should be in the chat room. We have definitely the biggest chat room now, which is kind of cool. 1,000 people plus in this chat room. And so here we go. This guy, Jay Hills, had a nice little profit. Cool. Andy had a nice little profit. You have small gains, and that it's very key to understand. Look, now it's clearly red to green on the day. It's a very big momentum shift. I might reshort this if the spike fails, but as of so far, the morning panic failed. But this is how you have to learn. Look at this now, 26K buyer here at 288. It's squeezing. And this is fully predictable. I understand most people think that penny stocks aren't predictable. Guess what? This is predictable if you learn how to read level 2 and see the indicators. Can it break 290? I mean, there's a big wall of sellers here. This is the kind of wall of sellers that I'm talking about. 27,000 shares for sale. We didn't have that at all at the market open on the panic. So it just couldn't go. Well, it's up a little bit. But anyways, I wanted to show you a little bit of live trading action. Disappointing, yes. I don't aim for these small profits of 10 cents a share, but sometimes you're forced to take them. And take them I did. And I made a few $100, and a lot of other students made a few $100s too. So congrats to everybody, and more important, we'll have more chances like this. Sometimes you will get the big morning panic. You just got to keep trying for these kinds of plays. Thank you.